Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Steel Sanctuary podcast. I'm your host, David Barrow from SteelSanctuary.com, and this is my co-host, David Coro. Dave, what's going on?
Hey, what's up, brother?
Brother, a lot's happened since the last time we talked on Tuesday, and unfortunately, not much of it is good with the Steelers.
No, it's not.
Let's start with the Isaac Seumalo pec injury. We didn't get to talk about that in our last pod. He could be up to 4 weeks, I guess it is. Man, this offensive line is snake bitten, dude.
Yeah, yeah. I'm worried, dude. I mean, naturally, you and I are worried. We're always worried, but
Yeah.
like it just keeps getting worse. I mean, between the injuries with Foatanu and whether he's going to be 100% healthy, Roderick Jones apparently dealing with injuries, and now Sayamalu, and now you're going to have moving pieces. You're going to have a McCormick or whoever is going to get plugged in at wherever at guard. Uh,
Spencer Anderson could be
yes,
it. We don't
and even
know.
whoever, and it's just like this is again. You talk about offensive line gelling, right? Needing that time to gel together, and you just took the O line that's been working together for the last 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Guess what? Now you throw that out. If Otanu's back, and if the rumors are true, he's going to be the right tackle. Now you're plugging in a new guy, right tackle, who hasn't played with these guys in how many weeks? Then you plug in McCormick or Spencer Anderson, whoever at left guard. Guess what? You're going to have some big issues to start this season on the offensive line. Oh, and by the way, we have the guy that was top two and holding on to the ball the longest at quarterback. So those two combinations. Oh, with by the way, we never got a number two wide receiver.
Yeah, we'll
You've
get to
got
that.
one guy who's going to get doubled up. So now you know why I'm a little concerned. So you have the floor, sir. How about you?
I am very concerned. I mean, you add that to the Nate Herbig out for the season, Dylan Cook's out for about 4 weeks, which hurts your tackle depth. It's not pretty going into week one. I do think because of all the injuries, I think Broderick Jones starts at right and Dan Moore starts at left, and they try to keep some semblance of normalcy as
Oh,
much as they possibly
does
can.
stay right? You think
I
Foden
think
start
so.
week one?
How do you put Troy Fuatanu in? You know, as far as I know, hasn't practiced yet. If he starts practicing Monday, it's the first time he's practiced, and since the first preseason game, you can't stick him on right tackle.
No, I don't
You
agree at
can't do
all.
it. You
I
can't do
agree.
it.
It's something that would make sense. I would not be upset because of that reason. I mean, holy cow! Do you really want to plug in two new
You can't.
guys
You can't
with
do
that offense to start the season? I don't think it's a good idea. I mean, that's just me, but
it. All right. The Steelers announced their full practice squad today. We just got that today. Good news, Dave. Quez Watkins is back.
yeah.
The season saved. Let me run through. Let me run through this real quick. Running back, they signed Boston Scott, who was with, I believe, the Eagles and another team. They got Jonathan Ward back, wide receiver, Quez Watkins, as I said. Ben, you want to take a crack at this name? Skowronek. A
I
lot of
won't.
people on Twitter are very high on him. I got to be honest, I don't know him. A lot of people were high on this Brandon Johnson, too. It's another name I don't really know too well. They're all in the practice squad. Rodney Williams, tight end. Offensive lineman Doug Nestor and John LeGlue is back. A former Steeler signed back to the practice squad.
Yeah.
Defensive lineman Jacob Slade. Outside linebackers Marcus Haynes and Aid Ogunde, like never heard of. Inside linebacker Devin Hopper. Cornerbacks Thomas Graham, Zion Gilbert, and Anthony Everett. That is your 2024 practice squad as it stands right now. No surprises. A couple of names we need to get to know. Um, yeah, it's the Quez Watkins thing really just throws me for a loop too. Why aren't we done with him? The guy couldn't return punts. He's not very good. I know it's the practice squad. I'm being nitpicky here, but Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I thought they'd bring back the Fitzpatrick kid actually. I don't
Yeah, exactly.
but they didn't. And I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, because Watkins looked all right at wide receiver, but he was horrendous at punt. So it's just like, but practice squad,
It is
it is
what it is.
what it
Yeah.
is. It's not, it's not the 53. So it's whatever. We're not going to see this guy on the field. So it's whatever. But like, I really wanted to see Plum Lee back.
Yeah, this is the next name I was going to bring up. John Reese Plumlee went to Jacksonville,
Oh,
and that
did
was kind of yep. He signed with the Jaguars today. That's kind of a surprise to me. I thought for sure he was one of the shoo-ins to come back. I don't know what the quarterback situation is in Jacksonville or the return situation. I don't know if he had a better chance to play there. I'm not sure what the deal was. I really thought the Steelers would bring him back. He was kind
did
of
he go
that's a
to,
versatile guy.
did he? Maybe I didn't hear you. Did he go to the practice squad or the 53?
He's gone to the practice squad, I believe.
Okay, well, it could be a preference of being nice. It's nicer down in Florida than wanting to
Who
play here,
knows?
but it's whatever. I mean, but I liked the kid. I really did. I liked how he was a
It's a versatile guy, you know. Yeah,
useful tool for them if they would ever
yeah,
need it. He also actually looked decent at quarterback in case Kyle Allen gets hurt. If you need to add a different guy for your third, your third
yeah.
on the depth chart there, and I'd have been fine with him. I liked him, but it is what it is. But I think there's bigger news to get to
For
than
sure. A
that.
couple more things before we get to the elephant in the room. Worst kept secret in NFL history: Russell Wilson was named the starting quarterback. I guess it took some of these national bozos by surprise, but everyone in Pittsburgh knew Russell Wilson was going to be the starter. It's just like when they had Kenny Pickett and Mitch Trubisky. We all knew Mitch Trubisky was going to start the season. He's the veteran. He was the guy, and he started for a month, and then
Yeah, the
eventually.
media is just like, oh, we're shocked, and it's like, bro, what,
I
do
mean,
you
they've said it from day one.
like? There's so many ways to know that was going to happen. Like, I, the chances of them actually not going with Russell Wilson were pretty slim.
Yeah,
But, but
and they've said he's the starter from the beginning. He hasn't done anything to lose the job, so why are we
right,
surprised at this? It doesn't make any sense. One more thing, Tomlin did mention it. He went on. What did he go on? One of the TV shows on ESPN, and he said that the Falcons coach should watch out for a Justin Fields package because it's coming in week one. So
is it Raheem Morris? I think is
Raheem
the
Morris, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
He was goofing around. I think but
I
I
hope
think
he's right. I hope he's
I
not.
yeah.
I hope he
Say,
does.
I don't disagree with it, but I think he was being just because he loves Raheem Morris. I think they're good friends.
Yeah,
Um, I mean, he said that he thought that he was one of the top 5 coaches in the league that wasn't a head coach at that time.
yeah. I remember him saying that.
So,
That's
so
right.
he thinks very highly of Raheem Morris. So, but yeah, that'd be dumb for Tomlin to show his hand like that.
I'm gonna
So
make him think it and then don't do it. Make him
right,
prepare for it and then not do
honestly,
it.
first game, I gotta be honest with you. In this first game, I don't want them to do it. Just they need to figure out what the fuck they're doing
Yeah, they might need it.
first.
They might need it in this offense.
Well, no, like I don't look. You're like when you're trying to gel the offensive line, new quarterback already. The last thing I think you need to do is plug in a different quarterback with a special package for them to try to pull that off in the first game of the season. I'd rather you save it, and then in a critical moment where you might need to pull something out of your ass to fucking fool the other team, then do it. I wouldn't do it right off the bat first game. I just wouldn't.
All right, let's get to it. The long, ugly Brandon Ayuk saga is finally over. He signed back with the 49ers. I think it was 4 years, 120 million.
It was.
Um, the Steelers got used. There's no
Yep.
two ways about it. He never wanted to leave San Francisco. San Francisco didn't want him to leave. He was never going to leave. He was just going to keep using the Steelers to get the offer he wanted. And I don't know what else to say. This is about as badly misplayed by Omar Khan as you could possibly misplay it. To hold out this long waiting for this guy and pass up on all the free agents, and even we were talking about in the last podcast, guys like Noah Brown and Tim Patrick, who they could have signed, or could have made an attempt to sign. They didn't do it. It's like they've ignored the wide receiver position since they traded Deontay. Well, I shouldn't say that. Since they signed Van Jefferson and that crew.
Did you see what happened with Noah Brown? Did you see the report?
What are you talking about specifically?
There's a report the Steelers only offered Noah Brown the
The
practice
practice
squad.
squad. Yeah.
What are you doing? Like the practice squad, this guy would probably be your second best wide receiver. Why would you offer him? Like I couldn't believe it. So like whenever I saw that he went to the Commanders, right?
Yeah, Commanders. Yeah,
It's because they offered him a 53-man roster spot. I mean, duh. Like, yeah, he's going
yeah,
to go to that.
of
Like,
course.
it just me, I'm just like, how stupid. Who thought to just go, well, we'll offer you a practice squad spot? Like, what? Like, the only thing I could think of, but it doesn't make any sense to me either, is that he's got an injury he's trying to recover from.
No,
And
he's on the 53-man
the
roster.
Steelers
He's going to
want to
play.
put him on the 53 for that reason. But the Commanders were willing to do it. So I'm a little bit confused on that. If it is, well, I'll put it this way: if it's true that they literally this guy could have had him, but they offered him only a practice squad spot, dude, that is dumb. Like I don't know what they're thinking if that's true.
Well, it brings me to my thought process. It's one of two things with Omar and the Steelers here. Either you can believe Jerry Dulac and they knew he was going to re-sign with the 49ers the whole time, and they didn't care, which means they're completely happy and satisfied with their wide receiver room, which is terrifying.
Yeah.
Or they got badly outmaneuvered and out, everything by the 49ers and didn't get the deal done. Which one is it? Either one's bad.
There's also the report that the 49ers were adamant they had to get a wide receiver
yeah,
before they were willing to let Brandon Ayuk go. They tried to get who was it? Was it Cortland Sutton
Well,
from
Sutton, yeah.
Denver?
That's the report.
And
Cortland
for
Sutton
a
from the
third round
Broncos.
pick, and when they couldn't get it, they were like, no. But the thing about it is, the thing that really angers me is this was a situation where if you would have just offered DJ for Ayuk and picks or whatever, it happened. Instead, they gave him up for a corner that hasn't played well. And I think they got a sixth? Was it him in a sixth or something like that?
Didn't they switch
They
swap draft picks or something?
sixth pick or something like that. But anyways, like to have Deontay Johnson and to only get from what I've seen the last couple of years, this guy, a subpar corner and a 6th round pick was just I know words. Like, if anything, you save Deontay Johnson. If the plan is to get rid of him, save him so that you acquire that 2nd round pick or a Brandon Ayuk, but you flip a pick to them as well. But still, if the whole plan was we got to get rid of Deontay Johnson, but we want to acquire a different top or number 2 wide receiver, then why give him up that quickly? And for, I mean, to me, it felt like that was more about Tomlin wanting Deontay Jackson or Dante. Sorry,
Dante Jackson. Yeah,
I don't. Does that? Because I'm not trying to give Omar a pass on this. Trust me, I'm not. It's this whole thing's been a disaster for 5 months. But
yep.
Doesn't it make you wonder? Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. But when you hear Tomlin talk about Dante Jackson, I mean, dude, he loves Dante Jackson. And
yeah, he does.
Because we always talk about moves that Colbert made, and that was Tomlin, or you try to decipher whether that was Art or Tomlin, or now it's Khan, and it's like, dude, is there a chance that more of this was more Tomlin wanting Dante Jackson, and that is why like we gave up, DJ so quick, and I don't. And I'm not trying, I don't want to blame Tomlin. I'm just saying, like, it really makes me wonder the thought process, because to me, it's so fucking stupid. Does that make sense? Like,
yeah. And Dave, there's probably something to that. I think Dante Jackson is a Tomlin guy. I think that he wanted Dante Jackson. I think Mike Tomlin holds sway over the general managers, and they make moves that they don't really want to make to keep Mike Tomlin happy, which you that's part of the business. But I think there was an arrogance over, well, we'll just find another two wide receiver. It's not a worry. We'll sign Van Jefferson, right? And we'll sign Scotty Miller, and we'll sign Quez Watkins, and we'll be fine. They're not fine. This is bad, and we've been banging this drum since I looked it up today. They traded Deontay Johnson on March 12th.
Yeah. It's
March
been
12th.
like 5 months. Like
It's been 5 months of this. And we kept waiting, oh, they're going to do something. They're going to do something. And you get the Van Jefferson. And then I think at one point when they signed Scotty Miller, I almost lost my mind. I'm like, and I've come around to kind of like Scotty Miller a little bit, but this is all garbage. This is all garbage. This is not wide receiver twos, not even close. And then you come to the draft, and I get it. And I'm the first guy that screams offensive line first, offensive line first, offensive line first. But if you've got Russell Wilson as your starting quarterback, and you've got an aging TJ Watt and Cam Hayward, and you're going for it like you supposedly are, and you're not going to play Troy Fautanu because you're not going to bench Dan Moore, and you're not going to bench Broderick Jones, so you're not going to play Fautanu in the first year anyway, draft a freaking wide receiver in the first round. Replace Deontay Johnson. Yeah. What are we doing?
Yeah.
But it's arrogance. Oh, we'll just draft Roman Wilson in the third round. It'll be fine. No, Roman Wilson's in the third round for a reason because he's not a first round talent. So I don't know how it's been botched since day one. And they screwed this up completely.
And the arrogance has hurt this team now with decisions they've made for the last 2, 3, 4, maybe even longer years, if you really think about it. And you're absolutely right. If you were going to not play Fautanu, then or vice versa, then why in the world would you go get one in the first place instead of going and getting that wide receiver?
When your biggest need is wide receiver too.
I don't get either.
You have 2 starting tackles. You have no wide receiver too. And I know everybody was, all the guys in the know, all the draftniks were tripping over themselves, drooling. Oh, Fautanu fell. He's what a steal. Great. Maybe you're right. Maybe you're not right because he didn't look very good in that first preseason game. I want to point that out. And 2, they didn't need a tackle. They needed a wide receiver.
Yeah.
I tweeted this out yesterday. March 13th, the 2 biggest needs on this team, wide receiver 2, slot corner. Biggest needs on August 30th, wide receiver 2, slot corner. They still haven't filled those positions.
Yeah.
You've got an undrafted free agent as your starting slot corner and a guy who had 100 yards receiving as your wide receiver 2 last year. What am I missing, Dave? This is bad general managing. This is bad process. This is going to lead to a very bad season.
I think it's like you said, the arrogance. I think it's an arrogance that they think they got it figured out. The only hope, unless they do make a move.
Yeah, this is all predicated if they go and get, some big time wide receiver, then
right. But the only thing I can think of is that Roman Wilson has looked really legit. That's the only thing I can think.
We haven't seen him. He's been injured. He hasn't even practiced.
That's my thing, though. Maybe he's been back now in practice, and maybe he has looked really. It's the only thing I can cling to, Dave. It's the only You're right. It's a fucking shit show. There's no way to fucking put it. But all I can do, we're not on the inside, so how will we know? Is just that they must feel like. My thing is I think that you're going to see a ton of 12 and 13 personnel. The tight ends are going to be featured way more. It's going to be the Pat Fryman show, maybe Darnell Washington, and it's going to be Connor Hayward. I think you're going to see a fuck ton of those guys. And don't get me wrong, I see the look on your face. That's mine too. If I could, I'd put the little Michael Jordan crying face on my, but I'm just saying, I don't think they're so that worried about it because in their brain, they think, oh, we're fine. We're going to have all these tight ends. We're going to get them really involved. The run game is going to be the featured thing too. And I think they think wide receiver is not that big of a need, I guess. I don't know. It must not be something that they're that worried about. I mean, y'all around a fucking practice squad spot. Guy had
that's
games last season, and you offer him a practice squad spot.
I mean, you might be right, Dave. They might just be punting on wide receiver altogether. They only keep it 5,
right?
When they usually keep 6, and when you have
4 tight ends,
yeah,
that's the thing right there. Kept the 4 tight ends. I was like 4 tight ends, and it's like okay,
Dave, you can't win like this in 2024. You can't.
Well, tell Tallman that. Tell Tallman that.
Once we've seen it so much, once you fall behind, you're fucked. Your offense can't score, and your defense is built. We've talked about this a million times to protect to play from ahead.
Yeah,
and you're always behind because your offense sucks. So your defense can't play up to its potential because you're always freaking behind. I had to look at this, Dave. I had to look at this. The Steelers were the bottom 5 offense and scoring last. They were 28th in scoring offense last year. This is what they did to improve it. They traded Deontay Johnson. Let's start there. Okay. You signed Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, Van Jefferson, Quez Watkins, Scotty Miller. Stop me when you're excited. Des Fitzpatrick, you drafted Troy Fuitano, Roman Wilson, and you signed a 33-year-old Cordell Patterson. This is how you improve the 28th ranked offense in football. And you got rid of your best route runner.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way.
Yeah.
What am I missing?
What
am I missing?
I don't know.
Like I'm sorry. I get it.
I just think that they don't plan to utilize the wide receivers as much as they're going to bring it with the run game and the tight ends.
It's not gonna work.
Hey, this is the Arthur Smith fucking offense. This was what everybody raved about. So whatever. Like work. Honestly, what's that?
I hate to be so negative. I feel like
about this stuff. We'll see though. Like I said, maybe it works. Maybe this is finally Tomlin's zig to the zag of the rest of the NFL that he's dreamed of.
Well, and here again, to run that kind of offense, you really need a dominant offensive line.
Well,
because of the injuries and the everything, they don't. And this is why you don't do this, Dave. Because for this offense to work, everything has to fall into place perfectly. And it's already off the rails. We haven't even started.
Look, these are all great points you're making. You don't got to sell me. Like I said, I believe you. Like I agree. Like it's bad. But
I wanted to come on here and hammer Omar Khan. I really did. But as soon as you brought up that Mike Tomlin thing about the trade, you're right. This is what Mike Tomlin wants. This is what Colbert fell into at the end too. Is you're trying to give Colbert what he wants, and you're fucking the team in the process.
You mean Tomlin?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I meant Tomlin.
Yeah. Colbert
trying to give Tomlin what he wants.
Tomlin what he wanted too.
Yeah. And it screws up the team.
Right. And that's why I'm starting to be like, okay, is this Tomlin or is this the GM? Like, which is it? Or is it Rooney? Just like with the Kenny Pickett draft pick. They're saying that was Art AR2 wanted that. So is that true or is that, bullshit? I don't know. But
yeah, I mean, we can only go by what we heard. That's what we heard.
Decisions being made, and it really makes me wonder. All right, who the fuck pushed this, to be the way to go here with this stuff? But I don't know, and it hasn't went well. I don't know if it's going to go well this season. I just don't.
We're going to do our predictions on our next podcast. I'm down, dude. I'm down. I don't know. It just doesn't look good to me. It just doesn't look good. I want to circle back to the draft because you draft Fuatanu, who, by the way, is a left tackle who they're going to move to right tackle, which we've discussed 1,000 times is a disaster too.
Yes, correct.
There's layers and layers and layers of ineptitude designing this offense.
Yeah, bad for sure.
And you passed on, I looked it up today, you passed on guys, man. Brian Thomas Jr., Xavier Worthy, Xavier Legette, Keon Coleman, who Buffalo loves right now. Ricky Pearsall. These are the guys you passed on who could have helped this team immediately for Troy Fuitano, who is supposedly a good college left tackle. No idea if he can play right tackle. No idea if he's going to stay healthy this year. There were injury concerns about him too coming out of the draft. We all kind of poo-pooed that, like, oh, he's been healthy the last season or two, but he had his own injury concerns through his college career. Can I pile on any more of the bad? I mean,
no. I mean, you can. It's easy. They make it so easy. But everything you brought up between the O-line and the run game, on top of the wide receivers and the how they want to do this with the offense, you're absolutely right. It just, I don't see it working either. But hey, look, that's why they get paid the big bucks. Maybe they know something we don't, and they'll figure it out. And here's the thing too, like after the 3 years of Matt Canada, it's just so hard to believe that this offense is going to do anything. And the fact that they didn't change it the way we thought they would, or better yet, the way we hoped that they would. You remember Mike Tomlin talked about he'd make change. He'd change if he had to.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
no.
he didn't change at all. It's still the same shit. It's still the same. We want to try to run the ball, play tough defense, and that should pull us through. And it's just like, Mike, this is 2024, bud. Like, no, like this is not how you do this.
Yeah, I'm a fan of zigging when other people zag and trying to do different. That usually works. But in this particular case, when you're playing bully ball and small ball and teams are scoring like they are, you're just putting yourself at a disadvantage right off the bat. Like you're saying the defense has to hold the opposing team under 20 points every game for us to win.
Right.
And we're going to help by running the football. What if you can't run the football that day?
I would have rather them have kept Deontay Johnson and then just drafted another corner. If they really thought they needed another corner that bad,
just so plenty of good corners in this draft.
Johnson and draft a corner. Do you remember how many corners were available in that draft? It was their pick. Like, dude, there was a ton. I don't even know if there was a corner drafted. I can't remember. Remember how they all fell really far?
Yeah,
like
there was a few, but they had that pick of a couple good ones that they wanted. Yeah.
But one, they didn't do that. Or, two, keep him in case you need him to go get the Brandon Ayuk, or trade him for the high draft pick, because I thought he was worth a second. Some speculate a third. If you get that, then now you've got a couple more picks to decide what you want. Like, you can go get the corner and the wide receiver early, see what falls to go get in the third, right? Like, there were so many better ways to go about this than to just get rid of him all of a sudden. And what you got in return is just like not good. And now, dude, could you imagine if we did have Deontay Johnson still?
It'd be a lot better. I'd feel a lot better about the season. And I get it. Everyone says he was a cancer in the locker room. We've heard from people too that he was a pain in the ass in the locker room. Okay, if you really felt like you couldn't deal with, I thought this is why you brought in the wide receiver coach, Zach Azzanni, because he's going to straighten everybody out and fix everything. He's a stern guy.
He's a no nonsense guy.
So if it can work on George Pickens, why can't it work on Deontay Johnson? The only reason Deontay Johnson's so pissed off is the same reason we're all pissed off. It's because this offense has sucked for 3 years, and his career is slipping away.
Right.
While they try to figure out the quarterback situation in Pittsburgh.
They did this in March, so like, it wasn't like there was some issue. They weren't even together at that time. So it's just so strange to me.
Somebody brought up that they wanted to trade him before his roster bonus, which was like a couple days before they traded him. So they were trying to avoid that. Because then it's an extra $5 million you're on the hook for if you do trade him. That's the more. But come on, so you don't rush. You pay that rather than rush and make a bad trade.
Yeah,
period.
I completely agree. Like I said,
and then believe me, we both killed Deontay Johnson at certain times last year. We know he's not a saint.
There's no doubt. Like, some of the shit he did was just stupid. Like, absolutely. But like, at the same time, he still was your best route runner. He still was a playmaker.
I put up on Twitter this week. He had like 800 yards and 5 touchdowns. All the free agents that they brought in together didn't add up to half of that.
Right.
Last year.
Right.
It's embarrassing. And including Calvin Austin in that group too. They had like 3 touchdowns and 400 yards all together. Van Jefferson, Scotty Miller, and Calvin Austin couldn't even get half the production that they had with Deontay Johnson last year.
Yeah, I don't know how somebody can objectively look at this and think that this is going to go well, or at least go well to start. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, at this point, we're probably waiting until the trade deadline for them to bring in a bona fide star receiver. No one's trading.
Going to need to.
If they think
they could be out of it.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, yeah. Yeah. Good point. Good point.
I don't know. Like, boy, when you and I start looking at these games and we start analyzing every game before we make our final prediction of the record, oof, it's going to be rough.
It's going to be rough, Dave.
Atlanta went from being a team that you thought, okay, they could beat this team, to then they add 2 stud guys, and you're like, Okay, maybe not now. So I don't know.
And they got to go to Denver the
They
week after
just feel
that.
like Russell Wilson's good enough that he'll carry it or something.
Yeah,
They
I
better,
know. I get.
but they better realize this guy's 36 years old. Like
Yeah.
at any given moment, Father Time can hit him like a freight train,
Yeah.
and it's over. Like so, they're putting their eggs on one basket with something, and it's either the 12 personnel, 13 personnel, or it's Russell Wilson, or they think that their running game's just going to really carry him that well. Something. It's one of those three. It can't be the wide receiver. It can't.
No, Dave, it's. I'm starting to talk myself into it. They think this wide receiver group is good enough. And then maybe Dulac's right, and they knew all along they weren't in the Brandon Ayuk thing, and they just didn't care.
Look,
You know,
I'm gonna say this though. I will say this because I Van Jefferson has looked good. He's been getting open every game. I think he's averaged about 3 receptions per game in the little time that he did play. He is 100% healthy. He's been doing a bunch of stuff that he did early in his career when he had more success. Mind you, this is me just trying to be positive, by the way. So maybe they do feel like he is going to have a better season than he has in the past couple years or whatever. And that's why they feel like they'll be okay. And I hope we're wrong. I hope it does. Like Jefferson does like do really well and proves everybody wrong that he can be a number 2 and or whatever. So, but I'm hoping that that happens. And then if they put like say Roman Wilson in the slot, which he's never done, right? I believe that's what you said.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what if that works out? Maybe they figure out that hey, he is pretty legit and is going to be all right, or at least good enough to be a slot guy. Or it works out with Scotty Miller in the slot, or whoever they go with, Calvin Austin the third. Oh my gosh, what if Russell Wilson's throwing bombs to him because they actually figured out a way to utilize him and his speed, right? Mm-hmm. You hope that this is what happens, but
not good, Bob.
Not good, Bob.
This is our motto for 2024.
I almost said it too. I was about to say not good, Bob.
Oh my God. I am.
But yeah,
I don't know, Dave. I don't have any optimism about Van Jefferson. I mean, if he couldn't do it in LA with that coach and that quarterback and that offense,
right?
He's not doing it here in Pittsburgh. It's been, I think he's 4 seasons removed from that big year he had, where he had like almost 1,000 yards and some touchdowns. I don't know. Do you buy into that Courtland Sutton rumor at all? I'm not sure I do.
With the 49ers?
Yeah, that they were going to do the deal if they could get Courtland Sutton. I mean, they have some pretty decent wide receivers on that team. They drafted 2. I was just looking at their depth chart. We've talked about this. They've got some good receivers on that team right now. They've got Juwan Jennings, Chris Conley on that team, Ronnie Bell. They've got some decent wide receivers. Do they really, really, really have to have Courtland Sutton to make this deal done? I don't know.
And here's another thing too, like that's weird about this thing with Ayuk is that he just gave in and signed the $120 million deal that they had offered him originally.
Yeah, I don't know if some people have debated if that's true or not. If that was really the original offer.
But if it is, that's
crazy. That just shows he never wanted to leave. Period.
Like to me, that is right. Like he didn't want to leave. All he was doing was just a leverage deal. But what I love from a perspective of a GM is that Lynch didn't blink an eye.
No,
like he didn't blink. This was a who's going to blink first kind of thing.
Yep.
And I don't think the 49ers did they? If that's the original offer,
they didn't blink.
They didn't blink at all. They were just like, whatever, dude. You can like take it or leave it.
Yeah, they may have up their offers a couple of times, but they weren't going to budge unless they got exactly what they wanted.
49ers credit here. I mean, they didn't budge, they didn't blink, and he caved and took the deal.
Yeah, this is where Dave, when I tweeted last night, Kevin Colbert would have never. What I meant by that is I can almost 1,000% guarantee you that he would have told the 49ers to go F themselves about July. That I'm not playing this game anymore. That's not the way Kevin Colbert operated. He
You
didn't.
think? I mean, I don't remember him ever doing this kind of stuff. Like
No,
just waiting it out for
people.
5 fucking months to see
You've
if the team.
heard other GMs and other people talk about dealing with Kevin Colbert. It's like they were like, that guy was a pain in the ass. He
Yeah.
didn't budge on us. This is a black eye for the Steelers, man. This kind of shows they can be taken advantage of. That they're not the organization they once were. We got clowned. We
Yeah.
got used by Brandon Ayuk, and John Lynch just, like you said, didn't blink, and
Is this like, and that's what scares me. Is this a sign of how far we've fallen as a Steelers organization?
I I tend to believe it is.
Like instead of wanting to actually go to the Steelers, he just used them as leverage. Like,
Yep.
man,
Think about it, Dave. And I was thinking about this today. You're a wide receiver. Do you want to come to Pittsburgh
no,
where they've got an offensive coordinator who runs the ball? You got a coach who only cares about defense.
So,
you got a 38-year-old quarterback.
I'll put it to you this way: before this season, not hell no, fuck no. With Canada and Pickett and that whole thing,
Well, that bad taste is still in everybody's mouth.
Wide receivers stats. Yep. So yeah, I could understand that. This season, you would think that maybe they would have more people wanting to come here, but the problem is it's an Arthur Smith offense.
Yeah.
So
it's not a wide receiver friendly offense. Yeah. No wide receiver wants to come here. You got 38-year-old Russ. You got Mike Tomlin who only cares about defense. You got 4 tight ends on the roster. You got 2 really good running backs. You're not going to see the ball.
Hey, I brought this up in what was it, January or February when they hired Arthur. I brought it up.
No,
it was not who I wanted, but look, this is what's great. They hope they have a chance to prove us wrong. And again, for the record, I hope they do.
Oh, of course, I hope they do too. No. I hope I'm completely wrong. I don't want to watch bad football again this year, but
right.
I've told you, we've had this conversation, David. I am so tired of the Pittsburgh Steelers offense of watching this team.
Yeah.
I haven't been entertained offensively since 2017. Honestly,
what I'm hoping though is what we saw in that last game of Cordell Patterson taking it to the house because the O-line just wiped out everybody in their path. Is what we see a lot of. I'm hoping that is more. That is what we see is a lot of success in the power run game, and you see a lot of that bully ball that they dreamed about. That it does work enough for them to win. That's what I'm hoping.
I don't know.
Oh, me either. I don't know either.
But I hate to keep pissing on your parade, but that was against the Lions twos.
I was thinking the same thing as I was saying. This is against the twos, but
and some threes sprinkled in there.
But hey, one series, Thomas saw enough. Said, "All right, sit down."
Yeah, Russell. That's good enough for me. That's another thing. How many series did Russell Wilson play the whole preseason? Maybe 4. I think he played 3 in the second game. He didn't play any in the first game.
I think you're right. I think it's 4. He played 1 in the last
5 at the most.
3 in the first game. I think it was 3. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he played 4 or 5 at the most. So this has got train wreck written all over it, man.
Yeah, dude. We'll see though. I'm hoping they prove us wrong, man. I hope.
Yeah. To put a positive spin on it, I guess you're right. Van Jefferson could be, at least above average, a little above average. And I hate to say it, but the entire offense kind of revolves around him. If he has a big year, it's a whole different story.
He has to be good enough to where they have to kind of worry about him. Like it can't be they know if they double up Pickens, we're done.
Yep.
He's got to be good enough to where when it's just one guy over there on an island with him, he takes advantage of it. If he can do that, now we're cooking.
You almost wonder, should they put Calvin Austin out there as a 2 receiver and just because he scares the daylights out of him because of his speed?
I mean, you better do something. One of those guys that got that 4.3 speed, but Jefferson has 4.3 speed.
He does. He had. He's a little older now, but yeah, I don't know if he might still have it. I don't know.
Yeah. It's just one of the things that you have to see if maybe they do wrinkle in something with Calvin Austin, out wide and instead of the slot, or they're not going to do just the end arounds with him, or the reverses or whatever it is they got planned with him, the jet sweeps, if you will.
Don't
You
do
know,
jet sweeps anymore. They only did one jet sweep in practice, and they got Roman Wilson hurt.
yeah,
We don't want to
just
even
say
bring that up.
they may, for old time's sake, bring back the jet sweep some more. But yeah, dude, I don't know.
I
We'll
will
see.
say on a positive note, I like Scotty Miller more than I thought I would,
Me
and
too.
I think he's going to be an okay slot receiver
Me
for this
too.
team.
I like him a lot too.
I think he's going to be the best slot receiver they've had in a couple of years. So
Honestly, out of those five, I'm kind of with you. I have Calvin Austin the third ranked fifth out of those five.
yeah, this is
And
my
remember,
point.
I was a big Calvin Austin guy. I was like, dude, this kid might end up being legit for them.
We were all excited to draft day when they got him. Like,
Right.
oh,
So,
another
but
good
I
receiver.
haven't seen jack shit in preseason, and uh, you know, just nothing's really inspired me to have this much hope for this kid. So it is his, this is his second season. So you're hoping maybe something clicks and he takes off, but I don't know.
I mean, again, you can't understate. They're much better at quarterback. They're much better at coordinator. So it's something to hang your hat on at least. That
Yes.
it can only go up from there.
And that's the thing. I may shit on Alex Smith, but like the pick of him, but like at the same time, I could notice it was a lot better than Canada's offense. That for sure. So we'll see.
Yeah. So, is it good enough? We got to find out. I mean,
Yep.
And the defense should be pretty spectacular if nobody gets hurt. Knock on wood. If this starting 11 stays relatively healthy all season, so that's a top 5 defense.
Right.
That's something that we brought up. What else do we have, Dave? I don't know. I don't. I try not to be negative. I really do, but deep down I knew they weren't going to get Ayuk, but when the reality hit, it was just like, God damn, this is our starting 5 wide receivers. It's just.
I assumed they weren't going to get him. I was already done with it, dude. And I was like, they're not getting him. As soon as it became clear he was using the Steelers leverage, and remember, then people on X were like, "Oh no, it's not that. He wants to be a Steeler," and I believe what and I'm like, sure. They offered him $27 million, and what if that was a 4-year deal, right? That's not a bad offer. I mean, it's not as much as it's $12 million less than what the 49ers gave him, but. Yeah. If you really wanted to be a Steeler, are you telling me you wouldn't take that? I mean,
that doesn't exist anymore. I don't really want to be a Steeler, not in offense anyway.
No.
We should talk about a few minutes these accounts on Twitter. I'm kind of annoyed by everyone with their sources and guarantee and how many of these guys with sources said that this Brandon Ayuk deal was done. Starting with Pony, who that's been retweeted
the worst.
I think 3 or 4 weeks ago. It's a done deal. He signed the contract. How do you get away with throwing shit out like that and still have a job? Like, honestly.
Yep.
And there's some other accounts that have a lot of followers that, that Jared Kane guy who, was I guarantee Brandon Ayuk's coming. Come on, guys. Nobody has sources. Stop it.
This is like one of the problems with X is that these people are just allowed to run their mouth of lies saying they got sources. I'm to a point from here on out. Like, if you're not verified, like if you're not, your top guys, then I ain't gonna. If you ain't Schefter, if you ain't,
Rappaport there and
Rappaport, yeah. If you ain't those guys, I don't believe you. Period. I don't believe.
Yeah.
You. So,
because it's getting out of control now. It's getting out of control, and Pony's the worst. I don't live in Pittsburgh. I don't listen to that radio station.
Face repercussions for that bullshit that he fucking pulls too.
Because that was just a bold-faced lie. No one told him that. No one told him that the deal was done. I don't believe it.
Yeah, I don't believe it either. I think he's full of shit, and he just does this to stir the pot and to get views and eyes and attention and everything else. That's just what he does. That's what he does, and it's ridiculous that 93.7 lets him act like that. Honestly. Like, he shouldn't be allowed to do that.
I guess as long as you get ratings.
Them look like a joke. Like, nobody wants to listen to that. It's just that it's the only main, like, Pittsburgh channel. I mean, you have, like, 105.9, the X that has, like, Mark Madden on there, but he's controversial, too, so people don't like him either. 102.5, has some stuff as well, but, like, 93.7 is like literally nothing but sports all the time.
Yeah.
And it's trash. It's absolute trash. And when they go on more commercial breaks than any radio station I've ever listened to ever. They'll be on commercials for like 15 fucking minutes. And you're like, are you guys ever going to come back on the fucking station to talk, or what are we doing here? But guys like Pony, they're horrible. Like they shouldn't be allowed to do this. If you work for a radio company, you can't be doing that.
Lying. Like both lying. My sources say deal's done.
I can't believe they get away.
Like, what? Where could he have possibly got that source? Because this deal was never close to being done.
He always claims he has a source or somebody on the inside, and half the time, it's not true. He's just full of shit, talking out of his ass. Like I just.
Like all right, I had to get that off my chest too, because these guys are really, really irritating me. Some of these guys that just stop it. I mean, you can lie and say, I have a source, and then guess. And then if you guess correctly, you say, see, I had a source. Any fool could do that. But
it's just an effort to get followers, dude.
Just stop it. All right, Dave, I think that's all I got, unless you got anything else.
Nah, dude, that's it for now. They're not really giving us much other than
bad news.
Yeah.
All right, you can follow me on X at SteelersSank16. Email the show at daver@SteelersSanctuary.com. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button on the podcast on YouTube. If you're on YouTube, hit that like and share us too. Dave, give me stuff. Let's get out of here.
Yep, you can find me on X at DMC3SSP. You can find me on TikTok at Steelers Sanctuary Podcast or at SteelSank Pod. Also, I just started a new podcast I'm going to be doing called the Pittsburgh Sportscast. That's taking over for the Hodgepodge of Nothingness podcast. And I'll be starting up pretty soon as well.
All right. Until next time, thanks for listening to the Steelers Sanctuary Podcast.